Yo, 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 what up? You watching the B Shine right now. Mr. Hyde, Psychological Records, the Beast fucking man. I've always been around music. Basically from when I'm a little child, my mother used to play all sorts of like 70s stuff, like the OJs and Barry White stuff would be coming out of the record player. She had the 45s. I remember being a little kid crawling up to her record player and picking out the 45s over there and like playing all those singles, like all dope Motown shit my mother used to rock. And then later on, like my cousins put me on to like hip hop and things like that. So like the first hip hop I think I ever heard was fucking 2 Live Crew. Actually, my older cousin was like, yo, listen to this, but don't let your mother know I played it for you. You know what I mean? Early influences, NWA, Cool G Rap, Cool Keith, Slick Rick, stuff like that. You know, the kind of stuff that got me to think that I could come out with my own crazy style that people would appreciate, even if it was off the wall or crazy or violent or whatever. Like those type of rappers opened up the door for me to spit my original shit. The one story that comes to mind is actually, I mentioned Slick Rick, right? So like my mother, she might have played a lot of the dope old music for me and but she hated hip hop actually. She'd be like, oh yeah, you don't want to be like a thug on the corner listening to hip hop, being a punk. Cause I would get into a lot of trouble in the streets, fight this and that, and be blasting hip hop and all the most fucked up shit and, you know, and crazy shit. So like I remember she would break my CDs with a hammer. Like and break not my CDs, my tapes with a hammer and shit. And then like we used to go to war and I used to break her fucking tapes with a hammer. We used to go back and forth, you know what I mean? So we bugged out. So that's crazy memory in itself, but listen to this. So she had like confiscated all my hip hop tapes. And then I had snuck a mixtape that my boy had made for me and Lottie Dottie was on it, Slick Rick. And it was in my Walkman and I was out of the room and my mother had come in the room, picked up the Walkman and played it. And it was right at the part where it said, and with your wrinkled pussy, I can't be your lover. That part, right when she pressed play was that part. She's like, what? Wrinkled pussy, what? She would, you know, break that shit with a hammer. I got in trouble. She kicked my ass all over the fucking house, you know? I mean, I was nice, I was dodging and shit, but I still got I still caught a few. But I remember being like, yo, that shit was a rush and I'll never stop listening to fucked up shit. And I started doing my own shit around that time, a little bit after that. Well, basically when I was in high school and shit, like I would just cipher with my boys and stuff, you know, at the lunch table or writing rhymes during like class or whatever. And the teacher would be like, yo, what are you doing? And I'm taking notes and really writing rhymes and shit. And then I would kick them, you know, to my best friends or whoever. I only had a few people in my neighborhood that were really like into the type of hip hop that I like real hip hop. Like the other ones were, like, you know, listening to the commercial shit or whatever it was at that time, whether it was MC Hammer or whatever the fuck was out. You know what I mean? But, you know, I was actually spitting real shit. And they were like, yo, you're actually pretty good. You should try to do something with it. When a lot of my friends started saying like, yo, you're really good, this and that, because I was doing it as a hobby. I was doing it just because I loved it, you know? And then I started going to open mics. I was like, you know what? I am going to try. I want to see how it is to rap in front of a crowd. And, you know, so I would find out where these events were. And I remember listening to like Stretch and Bobbito show, 89.9, you know what I mean? And calling up there at the end of the the broadcast, and it would let people cipher rap, you know, live on the air. And I would kick some rhymes on there. And I remember like when the early raps that they would laugh, they're like, oh, this kid's crazy or whatever. And then one time, like towards the end, like when I was starting to get nicer, I remember Bobbito was like, yo, don't talk over him. Let him rap. He's pretty ill. Like, you know, and I got in my head, I'm like, wow, Bobbito. I looked up to Stretch and Bob and be like, they usually just cut everybody off. Like, oh, next, and like go to the next rapper, you know what I mean? Like, or the next call. And they actually, you know, they gave me some time to shine on there. And then, so it's all in the books from there. I started going to open mics, repping my shit, rhyming in front of people. And I had met Necro in 1997 at a Cage show. They were promoting his first single, Agent Orange. And I actually went there to meet Necro because I heard him live on the radio. And I was like, yo, this dude has crazy beats. He raps fucking sick like I do. I didn't think there was anybody out there who rapped like me, like crazy like that. Like didn't give a fuck and spit the most fucked up foul shit. So I was like, I gotta meet this fucking dude. So I ran up and, you know, we hit it off, we clicked, and the rest is history. And Necro's my fucking brother. What's funny about that is my father's mad cool about it. Like, he's just like, he's like an old school Italian dude, and he's more like, are you making money? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all right. And he's like, all right, good. He's like, you doing shows? When are you working again? How's your merchandise? Like, he's, you know, he acts like he knows about it. He just wants to know if I'm making money. You happy? You making money? Good. My mother, she's still like, get a city job. You know, like, my mother still telling me to get a city job. I'm like, Ma, I just came back off tour. I got 20 G. Nah, she don't. Like, yeah, but that's not going to be around. I'm like, yeah, but I'm saving. It's like, nah, you got to get a city job. The sanitation test is coming. You know, she just wants the best for me. She worked the city job, and I know how she is, but she's going to preach. And, you know, but to this day, I won't let her near my CDs or nothing, you know, my iPod with a hammer, none of that stuff. She gets a hammer, I get flashbacks. I'm like, yo, my fucking mix is on there. Don't smash that shit. Nah, but you know, I know now that even though, you know, it was frowned upon in my family, like, oh, you're gonna do, especially rap, like, oh, you're gonna do hip hop, you're gonna do rap. That's not for you. You don't do that. You know, that ain't gonna make no money. And then when I started making money, my father was like, oh, okay, you're making money, so it must be good. Being a profitable artist where I have my own merch line and I'm able to live off my shit and not really have to do anything else. And like, I go to sleep like 5 o'clock in the morning. I only go to sleep when I see people going to work in the morning. And I'm like, they're going to work in the morning. I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to bed. That's my favorite part. One of my favorite things is to really rock crowds. You know what I mean? Like doing live shows and the energy. Myself and Necro are known for like, you know, touring the world and doing like some of the livest shows where people fucking mosh pit like a Slayer show in our pits. And like, they you know, they're running around cracking each other like a fucking 1986 Slayer show. And the energy is just bananas. And like the bigger the crowd, the more intense it gets, and the more intense I get and more intense like Necro will get. And we're that type of artists. So like, that's probably the top thrill for me and the top highlights of seeing like our hip hop translate into the energy that it brings to the crowd and the people who love our shit, our diehards, like, you know, because, you know, without them, we wouldn't be anywhere. So like, I really love it when we can relate like that. We can relay the energy because it gets me pumped. When I write some new shit or I hear some new shit that inspires me, I get pumped and I want to fucking punch a hole in the wall. You know what I mean? So like, fuck it, spill that blood in the fucking pit. You know, tour the world, see places that I would have never saw before, you know, that I would have never seen. Like, Europe, Australia. We just came back from Australia. I mean, just going to, who would have thought, like, you know, 13, 14 years old, that I'd be on the other side of the fucking planet doing shows in front of people, you know, where it's like 8 o'clock there and 8 o'clock here, but reversed, AM and PM, you know what I mean? Like, it's like some other we were rapping on stage Saturday and it's like Friday in New York, you know? So it's like, it's just some surreal shit. All the way across the other side of the world, people love our shit. You know what I mean? So it's just being able to see those places and see the different fans and the same effect we have. I want to leave a legacy of music that when people hear it, it's transcended through the time periods. Basically like consistency, where you could hear any of my songs and feel a certain way, where it translates a mood. Whatever year it is, whatever day it is, you listen to a Mr. Hyde song and you're like, wow, that shit made me feel a certain way. That got me pumped, or that got me to think, or that got me to, you know, to do something that I wouldn't have normally done, like just provoke emotion and action out of people and inspire people. And to know that I was never lazy and I never changed for nobody. No matter, I had people ask me, yo, why don't you do some more mainstream type shit? And this time, I was like, because it ain't me. You know what I mean? There's something in me that makes me want to write something fucked up and evil and exploitational. Like, I won't change for anybody. And you know, like, and the fans that stick with me and they could have that catalog for the rest of their lives that I left behind. And they could always throw it on and say, that motherfucker, he did what the fuck he wanted. You know what I mean? He was original. He was cutting edge. He didn't care what people thought. And you know, that's what I want to leave behind. And that's art. That's, you know, against censorship or against anything. Anybody that tells you can't do something or you're too crazy or you can't, you know, there's people like me, there's people like Gigi Allen that made money, you know what I mean? Whoever, there's an audience for everything. We got more evil coming at you.